about them. Very important. Well, look, certainly want to thank you all for coming today. It's great to see so many elected officials. I know we've got a number of state representatives and state senators. A whole laundry. If y'all would just stand up for a second so I could just tell you hello to oh, look, Katrina. There you go, Stuart. All right. Thank y'all. I think the entire Northeast delegation's come, Mike. And I know that we have Congresswoman, I think Julia's here. Is she? Oh, yeah. Julia, there you go. I know we have representatives from Senator Bill Cassidy and Senator John Kennedy's office, the Mayor Rustin, Ronnie Walker, the Mayor of West Monroe is here as well. I also want to thank, there's a number of people from rural hospitals and rural health care. My good friend Rock Bordelon and Randy Morris here, Steve Barber, Tommy Galat, Amy Kane, Lester Johnson, and others. In fact, I think we also have the Dean of the Vicom School is here as well. I saw him earlier today. Look, I want you to know that we thought that the University of Monroe here of Louisiana was a fitting location to announce these important appointments today. You know, from day one, we've always said that we are one Louisiana, and Monroe and Shreveport is just as important as New Orleans and Baton Rouge. I always have gotten a kick, even since the first time I ran for Attorney General, came up to North Louisiana, and folks would ask me if they voted for me and I got elected, if I'd come back. And I was like, well, yeah, why would I come back? The press treats me so much better up here. But we want to make sure that this administration reflects exactly that we're going to speak as one Louisiana once and for all. And so today, we've got three things that we're going to do. We're going to announce the new Secretary of the Department of Health and his team, the new Secretary of the Department of Wildlife and Fisheries and her team, and the Secretary of the Department of Child and Family Services. So to start off, I'd like to bring up Dr. and former Congressman Ralph Abraham. And I thought, again, that the University of Monroe would be an absolutely fitting place to announce that Dr. Abraham will be the new Secretary of the Louisiana Department of Health. I want y'all to know it was not that easy convincing him as well. But he is, and I do believe in it, and I've said it multiple times, probably one of the best statesmen that we have here in this state. As you know, Dr. Abraham is a practicing family medical physician in Richland Parish. He's a former three-term congressman from Louisiana's 5th Congressional District. And throughout almost the 30-year career in medicine, Dr. Abraham has seen firsthand the healthcare challenges facing Louisiana. He graduated from Mangum High School before earning a degree at the Louisiana State University. He graduated from LSU Veterinarian Medicine School and practiced 10 years before eventually seeking a medical doctorate degree, where he earned that degree at LSU Shreveport. I always said, you know, Doc, based upon where I thought medicine was going, we might have to see the vet before the doctor, but so we're in good shape either way now. He was a first lieutenant in the Army National Guard. He has served on humanitarian missions for Free Burma. He served in humanitarian missions in Syria, Iraq, and Ukraine. He's a certified flight instructor and actively works with Pilots for Patients, an organization that provides free air transportation for patients needing treatment at medical facilities not available to them locally. And of course, he's been married to his wife Diane for 46 years. Where is Diane? There you go. Hey, this is the real boss. Kind of like right here. That's why we get along. And I have the utmost confidence that he will do the state of Louisiana a great service. And so now I'd like to bring out the rest of his team. And I'm pleased to announce that Drew Maranto will serve as his chief of staff. Peter Krogan, Dr. Peter Krogan will be the Deputy Secretary of the Louisiana Department of Health. Michael Harrington will be the new Undersecretary of the Louisiana Department of Health. Nick Gotcherson will be the Executive Counsel to the Louisiana Department of Health. And together, I believe that this team will serve not only the big cities of like New Orleans and Baton Rouge, but all of Louisiana, Shreveport, Monroe, Alexandria, and the rural areas of this state as well, because all of Louisiana has healthcare needs. And so let me just tell you why I believe that this team is so great and why it is so important that they serve in their capacities. You know, the Louisiana Department of Health is supposed to protect and promote health and ensure access to medical and rehabilitative services for everyone in the state of Louisiana. But what does that mean? The Louisiana Department of Health is the state's largest and most consequential agency. It has the largest budget in the entire state. In fact, during the campaign, someone had once said that the state of Louisiana is one big healthcare plan and occasionally fixes a road or a bridge. So they are going to be tasked with a tremendous job. And the bottom line is that they are responsible for serving some of the most vulnerable people in our state. And of course, many times, folks in the rural areas feel like they are left behind. Residents in rural areas often have to travel considerable distances to access basic health care. As a family doctor with a rural practice, Dr. Abraham knows how important access to rural health care is and the plight of those rural communities. For years, he was the only doctor practicing in Mangum, which meant he treated men, women, children, and occasionally an animal in a pet. I was thinking about how nice it was for the farmers. It was like a one-stop shop, right?
Tots and Spots Clinic.
Rural Louisiana deserves access to high-quality medical care, and frankly, we believe that there is no one more qualified than Dr. Ralph Abraham to represent their needs. However, high quality and access is not just challenging for rural communities. It's challenging for all of Louisiana. And more needs to be done. And we want to make sure that we deliver the proper care to those who need it. One of the most important reasons that this team is going to do so great is that Dr. Abraham is extremely familiar with the Medicaid program, both as a member of Congress and as a practicing physician. He also knows what it takes to unleash innovation and improve healthcare outcomes in our healthcare system. Under his watch, we will create incentives and supports to help Louisianians move from dependence to independence. That will be a new way of thinking here in Louisiana. And his team will provide the tools and opportunities to help Louisianians live their lives out to their full potential and have great healthcare outcomes. Throughout the pandemic, we also witnessed our rights being infringed upon our government. And one of my promises was that we were never going to allow the government to get between you and your physician. Going forward, the people of Louisiana do not have to worry, because their Department of Health is going to be led by a team and Dr. Abraham that understands what their healthcare needs are, respects the rights of patients and the rights of citizens. I will also tell you that we have had, along with the Transition Committee, who some of them are here, have had a long discussion about mental health, which we believe is one of the greatest crises, not only in this state, but in this nation as well. And they are going to make dealing with mental health a top priority for this state. I'm honored that we were able to convince Dr. Abraham to take the job. I am certainly pleased at the team that he has assembled, and I think there's no one better to lead the Department of Health than Dr. Abraham and his team. Doc, Next, I would like to invite Madison Sheehan, along with Stephen Clark and Ryan Montague. Now, I want to say something. The Department of Wildlife, when I was young, all I wanted to do when I grew up was be a wildlife agent. I loved the outdoors. I grew up hunting and fishing. Louisiana is home to some of the best. That is what we are known for. And over the decades, this department seemed to be the appointments to be led by some great people, but it seemed to be led sometimes by maybe the governor's best friend, or maybe a former legislator. Not that there's anything wrong with that as well. But right now, there is not a department that is in need of leadership and true reform more than the Department of Wildlife and Fisheries. And so I would like to announce that Madison Sheehan will be the new Secretary of the Department of Wildlife and Fisheries and will be the first secretary, the first woman to ever lead the Department of Wildlife and Fisheries as the secretary. Now, I know there are a lot of people looking and saying, like, where is she from? Where did he find her? Look, we said that we were going to work to attract talent to Louisiana, right? That we want people to come to this state. And I've had the pleasure of knowing and working with Madison for several years now. And I'm confident that with her and her team, she and they will reshape and rebrand the Department of Wildlife and Fisheries. The things that impressed me about her: she was the team captain of the Ohio State rowing team. She worked directly for Coach Urban Myers to develop leadership programs for Ohio State team captains. Over the last 3 years, she's been working directly and indirectly with the governor of South Dakota, a good friend of mine, Kristi Noem. In those positions, she's worked on legislation relating to wildlife, agriculture, and natural resources. She played a major role in passing one of the strongest bills in the country, protecting women's sports. She has been selected by me because of those leadership abilities. She holds a bachelor's degree in public affairs, public management, and leadership and agribusiness. She served as an Ohio FFA state officer, and she's an avid hunter and fisherman. The team that is going to support her is just as important. And we're going to start with Stephen Clark, who will be the Deputy Secretary of Wildlife and Fisheries, as well as the Assistant Secretary of Wildlife. Stephen started his law enforcement career where I failed. He actually made it as a game warden with the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries in 1994. Since then, he moved on to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, where he has served in multiple positions, including the Assistant Special Agent in Charge, Resident Agent in Charge, and Special Agent. He has over 29 years of natural resource conservation experience. In addition to his duties as a special agent, Stephen was an airplane pilot for the government. Hey, you and Doc, y'all can take me somewhere if I need, right? And he most recently, as the special agent in charge, was in charge of the Southeast region. Accompanying him will be the Assistant Secretary of Fisheries, Ryan Montague. Ryan holds a bachelor's degree in zoology from LSU. a Juris Doctorate from Loyola. He began his career managing wetlands and restoration projects along Louisiana's coast while pursuing postgraduate studies in wetlands and ecology and environmental biology at the University of Louisiana at Lafayette. He then worked as a private lawyer and inside the criminal justice system for 15 years before coming to the Attorney General's office, where over the last 4 years he has worked with me in the Natural Resource Division. Now why are these appointments so important? Because like I said earlier, Louisiana is known as sportsman's paradise. We want this department, and the people of this state deserve a wildlife and fisheries department that is a first-class operation. We want people who come to Louisiana to hunt and to fish to have a great time here. And when they meet a wildlife agent, we want them to leave and say, you know what, Louisiana has got it going on. And this is the team that is absolutely going to do that. Now, finally, I would like to bring up Judge Matlock. Judge Matlock will serve as the Secretary of the Department of Child and Family Services. He is a native of Shreveport and has been the Chief Judge of the Juvenile Court in Caddo since 1999. During his tenure in juvenile court, he worked with programs such as the Juvenile Drug Court, the Family Drug Court, the Juvenile Mental Health Court, the Truancy Court. He's worked on sex trafficking, community response teams, specialized victims intensive unit, and on-site drug treatment clinics for children, and many others. I'm sure we can all agree that the state of Louisiana does many things, and they may do some of those things real well. But I don't believe that the state of Louisiana does a great job raising children. In fact, on the campaign trail, I asked anyone out there if they wanted to stay in Louisiana or would let them raise their children, and I got very, very, very few takers. And it's no secret that we have a juvenile crime problem in this state. But it's time that this state start prioritizing our children and our families. Because to do so is pro-life, it's pro-family, it's fiscally responsible, and it's conservative. To connect waiting kids to families, to support the fatherless and the widows, and to do our best to ensure that children grow up with the resources necessary to be successful citizens. By being more intentional and prioritizing this department's work, we will see stronger families and children across our state. And I believe we will also see less crime. If we do not prioritize our children and our families, we will continue to pay for it. And juvenile crime will continue to rise. With Judge Matlock's extensive experience in the juvenile system, he is exactly what Louisiana needs to ensure that the children of our state are given the proper resources and support to live successful lives. Just to sum up this department's work, I think of a Bible verse that I think is fitting is Deuteronomy. For the Lord your God is God of gods and Lord of lords. He is a great God, mighty and awesome. He shows no partiality, and he accepts no bribes. He defends the fatherless and the widows. And I will tell you that Judge Matlock is going to do a great job in office in the Department of Child and Family Services. Congratulations. Now with that, we'll go ahead and open it up to any questions. Is that why you were sitting in the front, Greg?
For you and Secretary Abraham, although access to insured care has grown with the Medicaid expansion, outcomes across the board for Medicare, privately insured in our state remain really terrible. Is there anything that you can see that can make an immediate type of difference in those kind of outcomes, health outcomes?
I'll let the doctor answer.
Thank you, Greg. As you can see, Governor-elect Landry, Sharon, they care about Louisiana. They care about the children. When Jeff and I and Keith had supper, what we call dinner in D.C., a couple of weeks ago, his only concern was what are going to happen to these people that are uninsured. He's put together a great transition team. He mentioned Randy Morris with Rural Health. Teddy Ray's here for nursing homes. Rock's here for struggling hospitals that he's rehabilitating. And the list goes on and on and on of the transition team that he brought together for LDH to point the direction that he wants us to go, that I want us to go. When I was in Baton Rouge last week, to your question, Greg, where do we start? Because as Jeff said, this is a huge issue. And you're exactly right. We've got great legislators here that have advocated money, funded LDH, but the outcomes are still last. I don't care whether it's diabetes, hypertension, congestive heart failure, you name it, we're in the bottom of the barrel, and we need to move up. I had the privilege of having dinner last Friday with Collis Temple, right here on the front row. Collis, would you raise your hand, sir? Most of you know Collis as a basketball player of LSU. He played for the San Antonio Spurs professionally. But after we got through eating, Collis said, I want to take you somewhere. And he took us to some of the homes that he has put together for youth and for incarcerated individuals that he has now, along with other entities in the state, have put back in the workforce. These children, these teenagers, they knew Collis when he walked in, they respected him, and he asked every one of them, where were you Sunday morning at 9:30? They all answered church. So he's giving them structure, but he's also giving them job, he's giving them meaning, he's giving them purpose, and he's treating them, as we should, like the average citizen. He took it to some of his facilities where they were still under lock and key, but he had them structured, working, respectful, paying taxes instead of using our taxes and giving back to Louisiana. So Greg, to your question, the long answer, the short answer for my long response is, the way we address this is one success at a time, like Collis has done, with a big job, as Jeff has alluded to, but with a governor like we have here that understands leadership, that's worn the uniform of the United States Army, that wore the badge of the sheriff's deputy, that has been attorney general for all these years and has fought, as you know, Greg, for the things that I fought for in Congress. Without Governor-elect Landry, we would not be nearly in the shape we are in the good way without this gentleman on my right here. So with the help of people like Randy, Collis, Teddy Ray, Rock, all those on the transition team, we're going to take this bear and we're going to bite him, and we're going to make Louisiana once again in the top tier instead of the bottom.
Julie.
Hi, it's nice to see you, Congressman. I was wondering if you all are considering work requirements or co-payments for people who are enrolled in Medicaid. A lot of other conservative states are looking at that as a possibility.
Yeah. Look, I think so. I think that, let me tell you, make sure that you write this down. We are working to take people from dependence to independence. I don't know any human being who likes to be dependent on something. It's why we appreciate our independence. It's why we appreciate our freedom. And the more freedom you give a person, the more opportunity you give them to work, the more they're able to employ their labor, the more rewarding that individual is. And actually, quite frankly, it's why you see it's why you see elderly people who continue to work way past their 70s and into their 80s, and you're like, how are they doing it? Why? Because they've been working all their lives, and they've enjoyed what they do. So I would tell you that we are going to have everything on the table to make sure that we bring people from dependence to independence here in this state.
Yes, I'm Kenya Ross with University of Monroe. And can you please explain the current financial status of the Glenwood Regional Medical Center that's located in West Monroe?
The Glenwood Hospital? Can I? No, I'm not that accountant. I don't know the books, but I understand there's a problem. Look, here's what I tell you. There are a lot of problems in our healthcare system here in Louisiana. This team, along with the great transition team that we put together, which I hope we continue to work with them on, are going to help to address those types of problems and others like it around the state.
One more question.
One more? Gray?
Thanks, Governor. So as you move forward, especially in DHH or just DH now, do you foresee a stable, a budget at the current levels? Do you think it needs increasing? Are there savings that can be had going into your first year? What's your?
Look, we have tasked everyone that we have appointed to look throughout the agencies and the programs that those agencies administer, to look for efficiencies and savings. Look, one of the things that we talked about a lot is we're spending a lot, as you alluded to, it's why you asked the question, we're spending a lot of money on Medicaid, but our outcomes are not great. The only way to improve those, the only way to equalize that is to ensure that we have efficiencies in the system. And then what we also would like to do, is what I would like to do with them, is to try to create efficiencies in the Medicaid system so that the dollars that we save in there, we can then turn those dollars and work on mental health, okay? Because what I've seen by government again and again and again is you go there and it's just, well, give me more money, but nobody says, well, okay, well, let me ask you, can we do it better? And if we can do it better, can we do it in a more cost-saving manner? And can we take those same cost savings and then employ it in another area that desperately needs those dollars? That's the way that government is supposed to work, and that's the way we're hoping this administration is going to work. Thank you all so very much.